Hi everyone, welcome back. It's Nat Walsh. Today we are going to have another card using Sassy and Crafty. Sassy Girls Fly. Don't look at that fly away because it's Sassy Girls Fly. We've got My Favorite Things Clouds stencil. The great thing about this stencil is obviously that you can rotate it around and you can get sort of different shapes like clouds. You know, so it looks like a bit of a variation. And what I'm doing is I'm using Tumbled Glass Distress Oxide ink, and we are just, as I said, rotating that around and making a cloud full. Let's try a sky full of clouds. And what I'm doing here is I'm starting on the stencil and I'm brushing upwards. I'm just going to keep going with that until I am happy enough with it. I'm going to just soften some of that white with putting a little bit of the oxide around the edges. Just sort of blending that all in. What else are we going to do? So this is a digital design team. This is how we get our images. So what I've done is I've printed this out onto just cardstock, just nice smooth cardstock for the copy markers, and therefore these are the same size images that you get if you buy the actual stamp set, because it's a little bit harder. I'm a part of their digital design team, so I get their, digital images, which actually sort of means that you can manipulate them around a little bit. You can layer them up. I use the Silhouette Studio program, and you can lay these images over. You can make some bigger, you can make some smaller. But with this company, we like to just keep them as is, as you would do it. So with these images, you pretty much just sort of cut them out. What I will do is I will pull them apart in a program called GIMP, and sometimes make them that I can layer them up. Let's talk about colors I'm using here today. We have E04, E11, E00, and for a little bit of pink on her lips, I used R20. I decided, even though she's strictly not in, I'm not an Army, Navy, or Air Force person, but I'm pretty sure having the girls out is not part of their uniform. But what I did is just still going to use like a green khaki sort of colour. Okay. I just decided that's what I was going to use. But, creative license. I thought about making it totally different, but yeah, that's what we went for. So we've got YG 99, 97, 95, 93, and with her stripes there on her arm, I actually come in with 91. We're working through darkest down to lightest, and obviously she's got the rest of her body. She doesn't have the rest of the body, but we're going to trim that off, and we're just sort of blending that out until I'm happy with it, basically. Going through darkest, lightest down to lightest. Oh, that's a bit of repeating myself. But we're just going to go back and forth until I'm happy enough with the colour. And what I usually go through once I've gone down to my lightest, depending on whether I want to deepen the colour a bit more, I'll go back through, of course. Otherwise, sometimes I will just add a little bit more of the darker couple of colours, just to provide that contrast from the darkest down to the lightest. The only other two colors we're really going to use is obviously with her hair, her hat, and her gloves. Her gloves and her hat are going to be the same colors, but we're going to go one step lighter. And a lighter color is going to be the next shade down. So yeah, I'm just going to color in this image. So they have lots of range of sassy girls. I said, I've only recently been a member of the digital team, and this is basically the second month that I've done some cards for them. The next month, I quite like the next month. No, this is the first month. I tell a lie, I think this is April's. So next month is coming out soon. It's good fun. It's good fun. With her hat, I'm going to use E59, 57, 55. And again, just thinking about where the shadows are going to be, where two things overlap. I wasn't too sure what I was going to do with their glasses for the time being, but you'll have to wait and see, won't you? Just underneath her, okay, I don't really know what this hat, I've seen this hat in photos of people, but where her ears are, I'm putting a little bit of shadow underneath there. And just in around her buckle of her hat a little bit. Her glasses are, her goggles, I've got to call them goggles, are going to project a little bit of shadow, possibly a little bit. And again, where her ear is, but you got to think about where is your light source coming from. So some of these things, it's not really, especially for someone who's not in a military based environment or grew up in that environment. Here in Australia, of course, we have our military personnel, but I don't really know any. But I take my hat off to all those people that get involved in that sort of thing and protect others. So, but this is my little way of, I don't really know what to call that hat. It's just probably, what do they call it? An aviation hat? Yeah, I don't really know, but we're just going to colour in the gloves again, as I said, with the same colours, but we're going to, our lightest colour is going to be E53. So because her hand is rounded, so we've got a little bit of shadow on either side of her arm. And just bringing out our shadows. We're working with the lines that is already drawn on the image to help us figure out where some shadows should be. So next is her hair. I'm only using the three colours. She's only got a little bit of hair sticking out, so we're not going to worry about it too much. I've got E29, 25 and E40. And what I'm doing is darkest right near her cap, obviously. And I'm also giving some very, very light flicks through the rest of her hair. So it's a very light brunette sort of hair color. So I'm going to cut this out now. There we go. Magic of editing. I've got a distress marker and I'm going around the outside of my image just to finish it off. I want to make sure once again that you don't go, I'm working from behind like that. See there? The pen is coming in from behind. If you go from the front, if you happen to slip, then you are going to end up with a black line. And that's just not happiness. So make sure you go from behind. And here's our sky. So I decided it was a little bit, it needed a bit of something else. So we've got this Cosmic Shimmer Luna paste. And it's just a nice thick little paste, and I'm just going to give my clouds a bit of a silver lining, so to speak, but it is quite thick, so I'm just going to put it on and then give it a bit of a rub, so it gives that just a smoother, see how you get some bumps and everything else in it, and just scrape off a little bit. We're going to let that dry. So we've got forest moss. Now, I decided that it needed a little bit of tying in. But as soon as I did this, I went, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I needed to double check my sizing. So we're just trimming that down. And I think it's going to be 14.4 by 10 centimeters. I can't quite remember, and I haven't written it down. So we were committed to this. So I'm just going to keep going. So what I brought out was my walnut stain, which then made me a lot happier. I was a happy camper after that. It just sort of brought in more of that khaki sort of color. So this is sentiment. I'm just trying to figure out where I want to place this. I'm going to give it a little bit of I don't know what they call it. It's not a banner, like a flag sort of thing, I suppose. And it was a little bit too white. It blended in a bit too much. So we've got our walnut stain out again. I am using oxide, which does tend to layer over the sentiment. I thought about using a normal sort of one, but we went with the oxide and just brought in the forest moss again, just to give it a illusion of some khaki green sort of color. That's going to be our sentiment. I'm going to let that dry. I'm a bit low. There we go. That's better. So pretty straightforward little card with the sky in the background. I mean, the Copic colouring is possibly a little bit more complex depending on your level of colouring skills. We're going to raise him up a bit. I'm going to use all the extra little bits and pieces. That way I don't have to worry about cutting up things. And we're just going to put a lot of foam onto this. I will trim off the bottom, which then goes with some foam. Some of the foam goes as well, but you know, it goes with the flow. It's okay. So we're just playing with positioning now. She needed to be a bit lower because I've scooped her arm around a little bit. We'll trim that off. And there we go, that's our card. So there'll be a blog post that is linked to this card. You can hop over there. You can get all the information for the colors that I've used. If you haven't already, hit likes and hit the subscribe button. And if you hit the like and hit the bell, it just helps my little channel grow. So I'm coming up to 400. I do need to say that I was involved in a Mother's Day blog hop recently, and you need to hop over to Handy Scandy's page. There'll be a link down below to that video where the winners will be announced. So there's a few winners. The winner of my channel was a lovely lady who always comments, always watches my videos, so I'm very appreciative, and I'm so happy or so stoked when I saw her name. I was so excited for her. So hop over there, see if you're one of the blog winners. That's it.